I have been buying silver and gold for nearly 6 years now, and in that time, a great deal of change has happened, not only in the way that I look at my gold and silver investments, but in the world. And in today's video, I want to talk about those changing opinions, which have very much led me to the conclusion that I am no longer an investor in silver. I'm a hoarder. I am somebody who will hold their silver and their gold for a long, long time, let me tell you, because I think there is just so much potential in both of these metals. Hello everybody, Backyard Bullion here, and a very warm welcome to you all joining me for this week's Precious Metal Rambling, which is going to be about the shifting and changing attitudes which I've noticed within myself, and I would imagine are shared by a very large proportion of silver stackers, seasoned and new alike, that silver has got a lot of potential. It really has. It's something to hold on to right now. If you are lucky enough to have it, then great, hold it. If you're looking to get it right now, though, that is a different story altogether. And my attitudes to acquiring more silver are very different to the attitudes that I have for the silver that I currently hold. Now, it's a very interesting topic for sure, but it is also bordering on this kind of opinions about silver into the future financial advice. And I am not here to give financial advice. I am by no means qualified to do so. So any financial decisions that you make, having watched today's video, are yours and yours alone. The aim is to ask the critical questions, to get the brain juices flowing so that people, and myself as well, I reflect on the types of videos I make, can then make informed decisions that are correct for them. That is the message that I've been saying on my channel for the last five years of making videos. Make the right decisions that are right for you. Now, I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions as we go throughout the video, so hit that comment section up and let me know what you think. And if you're enjoying this video as we go along the way, hit the thumbs up button, which is probably about here. And if you are enjoying this video and you're not subscribed to our channel, then the subscribe button is about there as well, and there's a good chance that you'll like subsequent videos that we make, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. Now, I started stacking silver back in 2015, and a vast majority of the silver that I bought back then were in the form of collectible kind of coins, different designs, and we had, in fact, the first batch was something like 20 or so different things, like the koalas and the lunar coins that you see here from the Perth Mint, things like that, that we wanted to kind of get annual series of. Every year we'd buy a koala, every year we'd buy a kangaroo, that kind of thing. And a lot of it was bought at dirt cheap prices. Back in 2015, it was like £15 an ounce was expensive back then. Certainly at the start of my stacking journey, right at the start of 2015, the silver price was about £10 an ounce, and you could buy them with very low premiums from Europe without the taxes. You could get silver into the country for like £12, £13 an ounce. Wonderful, great. Now, that has evolved, of course, over time with Brexit and all of the different premium side of things. So that is most certainly something to reflect on, that generally it's now harder, it seems, to get the decent priced silver. Also, I've noticed that there is a huge, much larger range selection of kind of investment coins and bullion out there than there was back in 2015. So loads of different things going on with loads of different premiums and loads of different aspects to consider for sure. But the nuts and bolts of it was that we got a bunch of silver back in 2015 for cheap, which was wonderful. And my attitude back then was to hold it, to sell it, to get more fiat currency. It was very much I'm investing a certain amount of cash into this as an investment, and at the other end we'll sell it, we'll make some money, and then that cash will go into whatever else we want to do, buy a house, buy a car, or whatever it is. That was the attitude that I held back then. Now, I went down the rabbit hole, as most silver stackers do and will have done with their first investments, and it very quickly became apparent to me that this is much more of a long-term investment. But still, I had this idea in my head anyway. Certainly when I started discovering investing in gold more than silver, my gold stack is the thing that I prize most over my silver stack, and certainly the silver that I have and have continued to buy over this last few years has most certainly been, at the time of buying anyway, a means by which to secure more gold in the future. So the idea would be to cash out on any premiums or growth in silver and put it into gold. That was the general premise for the silver. So that was the first sort of big shift and change in attitude that I had. Now though, over this last year, we've seen some absolutely mad changes in the markets for silver. Of course, we saw at the beginning of the pandemic a big crash down, and then the clawing back and growth of silver over this last sort of 9 months or so. And that's been incredibly interesting for me to kind of watch as a holder of silver. It's wonderful to see your investment grow. But the thing that was most pertinent to me was this scarcity issue, this growth in the premiums, this market rate value, so to speak. Spot price at the beginning of the pandemic after it crashed down was like £11 an ounce, but people could not, for love nor money, buy silver for less than £19 an ounce here in the United Kingdom. And I'm pretty sure in America the same kind of thing, unless you found a really good deal, you could not get silver at a low premium. Saw American Silver Eagle selling at 50-60% premium. So, huge growth there. And that for me clicked a little button in my brain to say, that silver has actually now shifted. So back in 2015, it had this sort of natural resting point of like 12, 13, 14, 15 pounds an ounce. Here in the United Kingdom, with the taxes and things on the second-hand market, you were looking at something like 18 pounds an ounce for your silver. Great. That is now like the spot price. That is now where spot rests. So for me, there's this fundamental shift and change in that fundamental way that silver is valued. And for me now, if I'm buying silver, it is very much done as I'm really worried about where things are going to be in the future, and I want to hold it and I want to keep it for as long as I can. That's the change that I think has come most to me. And that even now affects my strategy towards selling it to buy gold. I feel much rather put my cash into gold and accumulate more metals generally than I would to sell some silver to fund the gold. That is, the vast majority of the gold that I have has been done that way. We've been buying silver at lower prices and cashing in at some of the premiums, making that profit, and selling when spot price has gone up and down and so on, to actually fund some of the purchases of gold, trading it out, playing that ratio. And that's been great. It's allowed me to accumulate more gold over time from that early standpoint. But right now, I am very much about accumulating more metal generally and not letting any of it go. And I think that's really interesting in my mind. Now, I know a lot of sort of hardcore stackers, not even hardcore stackers, like just normal stackers will be saying, well, hang on, that's how I've always operated my silver investing, my silver stacking. It's not an investment, it's a stack. It's a hoard of silver. I keep it for God knows what, whether it's the collapse of the dollar or whether it's just something. We keep it for greater occasions than selling to buy more gold or selling to buy a house, and that's fine. But there are a lot of people out there who are going to be like myself, who bought silver at the start as a financial product investment, as something to get returns out of at the other end, rightly or wrongly so. So there's a whole host of really interesting fundamental changes that have happened, but I know that for a lot of you out there, that's not really a fundamental change, because ultimately you were never going to sell your silver anyway. And I do remember back a couple of years ago making videos about people who do that, not criticizing, not belittling people at all about that, because that's perfectly valid. And of course, to a certain extent, you've all been proven completely right. But if you are buying silver to pretty much never sell it, hold it for 30, 40, 50 years, or hold it to pass on to future generations, then it doesn't matter what price you're buying it at right now. It could be the $30 an ounce, could be $40 an ounce Eagles. If you're holding it for 30, 40 years, I can really foresee some huge fundamental shifts and changes in those price points over that lifetime and lifespan. So for me, it's now a case of looking at the silver that we've got and thinking about how that's going to evolve over time, trying to predict where the next shift in attitudes will be, and whether or not there will be a time that comes where I'll be looking to sell what I have to maybe buy, I don't know, more gold, playing that ratio again, or just keeping it. Because I think ultimately, for me anyway, there is a lot of potential in silver. Right now, I've certainly seen that potential realised in this last 4 months of the shifting and changing marketplace that we've seen in the United Kingdom, with relating to post-Brexit life, with taxes being on silver now that are, just matched in that second-hand market. I have not seen very much silver being sold at less than 25% premium, 20% premium over spot price at the moment on the second-hand market, which is a great thing to have to hold. And new silver, I mean, we're talking like 40% premium even on second-hand markets, and people are buying it. And I think that shifting attitude now to buy higher premium silver is one which I'm not quite there at. That's the last opinion shift and change for me that I have not quite got my head around. Now, if I saw silver come up on sale at like £23 an ounce, £22 an ounce, would I buy it? I've certainly been tempted, and I've seen a few pieces of silver come up for, quite a fair amount of big kilo bars, come up for sale on the Silver Forum at those kind of price points, and I have very nearly pulled those triggers. For me, if I buy it as an investment, it's something I will have to lock up and hold for an awful long time. And I do think there's a lot of potential, but I also think there's going to be rock and roller coasters. Is that right? Yeah, rock and roller coasters over this next couple of months and potentially over this next year or so. The recovery is what is concerning me most about silver. The recovery in the world's economy and industry. And I'm not just talking about industries that use silver, I'm talking about general worldwide industries. When things start opening up again, when things really start kicking into overdrive and economies start growing again, silver and gold will inevitably go down. That's just a natural thing within the sort of cycles. Now, where the low price point will be is going to be anybody's guess. And the main issue, I suppose, is going to be that continual question of supply from mints, from refineries, from mines. Getting that raw material, getting those products out there is going to be really, really key. One thing I have noticed, and I think a lot of people are concerned about, is the general supply of silver to mints. And I've seen loads of different articles and questions and videos and different things of people, questionable motives from some. Others are more like myself on this YouTube community, just commentating on the sort of news out there, and I'm not sort of criticizing them for doing that kind of thing, but there are a lot of news outlets that are very biased in that they are incentivized to make you think that silver's super scarce and that you're happy to pay the 40% premiums on items. It's very shady in my opinion. There are most certainly a lot out there, but in terms of commentators and people who are making videos about things like the Perth Mint not being able to fulfill silver contracts, or the Royal Mint running out of investment bars, and there are loads of other mints out there around the world that have been, talked about having short supply of different things and not being able to supply, or 8-week lag and lead times for different products to come out and so on. And most certainly that is down to the supply chain issues. But from my perspective, I feel that there's something else at play here. For a mint to create, Royal Mint bar, or Perth Mint to just create their bullion bars and sell those at their traditional prices of a couple of percentage over spot price, there's no point for them to do that. They want to keep the silver. They want to make their coins out of them where they make more money on them. That is what it all comes down to. There is enough silver out there, in my opinion. There always has been. Silver is not a rare metal. It's of course a rare metal, but it is not rare in the sense that you can't get hold of it. It's certainly not like gold. It's certainly not like platinum and the other precious metals out there. There is still a lot of silver out there to be had. It is one of the biggest industrial metals out there in this world, and it is certainly going to be in demand, but it is certainly not going to run completely dry of supply. But in the short term, these supply chains are most certainly affected, and that is what is causing a great deal of these premiums to exist and to continue to be high. And that is what I cannot get my head around right now. If I'm buying investment grade bullion, a bar, just a general bar, and if I'm buying this from a UK dealer, of course, with this VAT and so on top of it, it makes very little to 0 cents for me to do so. Now, if I can buy that bar on the second-hand market for around like the £22 an ounce mark, yeah, that's something I'll consider. And in fact, that would be something that I would potentially even put my other hat on, which is my poured silver business hat, and say, well, that's something that I will buy, and then I will melt, and I will then sell. That is where we go with that. But for me right now, I feel like the way that I want to accumulate more silver is through premium items that will potentially have more growth over time. In my mind, I feel like if I'm paying £30 an ounce for a coin with a fancy design, or I'm paying £26 an ounce for a bullion grade piece of silver, I feel like this is a better value kind of item for me. It's much more worthwhile getting and holding, and potentially will have more sort of flavour and demand into the future as well. I have noticed that whilst there's a great deal of demand for bullion grade silver, if it's not priced accordingly, it still does not sell particularly quickly or at all. I've seen some kilo silver bars being put up for sale on the Silver Forum. People are trying to charge £28 an ounce, the same as you would get for a brand new Britannia, and people just don't buy it. Or if they do, it's not a particularly good deal in my opinion. But, each to their own. Now, as it goes for gold over this next couple of weeks and months, there is most certainly an argument to be had in my case, and this is kind of why I've not really been accumulating much more silver. The gold is a much better buy right now, with the gold-silver ratio being where it is. Could the silver ratio go back up to be in its favour? Totally, yes, it could, and I think that might well happen within the kind of recovery period that we're seeing. Quite how low that will go, I don't know. Whether that will even happen over the next coming months, or if it's going to be in another year or two, who knows. But for me, right now, if I buy any precious metals, it's going to be gold. And conversely, to twist it all around, this will get your minds all racing, I am very, very much considering any gold that I have right now as a means to potentially acquire more silver when the time is right. Now is the time to potentially look to that as an option. So that is most certainly something that I'm considering going forwards. So that is about it from me on these changing and shifting attitudes. It's been quite the last 5 years, I must say. When you sit here and you kind of reflect on it, prepare for this video, and I've talked through it all, it really has been a pretty fundamental shift in the way that I view these things. And I can very much put myself, I think, now in this hoarding stacker strategy, or category, I should say, because for me right now, I think holding on to this silver for the long term it's just a no-brainer for me. I cannot see, for me anyway, why I would want to. Like, I've got two hats on in my sort of silver life. I've got, of course, the buying and selling silver as a business, which is the poured silver side of things, and I still love that and I still do that. Doesn't mean I don't get a little niggle in my head when I go, I've just bought 10 kilos of silver and I'm selling 10 kilos of silver. I don't want to do that. I just want to keep the silver. But at the end of the day, that's a business, that's my income, that's my livelihood, and that's what I've chosen to do with my career for this time being. So it's very difficult to kind of turn that off and not do that. But certainly for the other side of things, the personal investment side of things, holding this stuff for a long time really does seem more logical to me. So I'd love to know your opinions down below. As I said at the start of the video, hit that comment section up and we'll head on down there and have a good old chat with you about it. If you're just going to be an obtuse troll and tell me I'm stupid and an idiot, then that's a one-way ticket to Banville. And, there's no time for trolls in this world. We're all here to learn, to have a bit of fun, and not to be shouted at. Otherwise, remember to put that thumbs up and subscribe if you have enjoyed this video. You probably will enjoy other videos that we've done or will do into the future, so it's well worth hitting that subscribe button. Otherwise, have a fantastic week ahead. We'll see you on the next video, and as always, please make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.